Hong Kong as well. You've got other channels like NHK World, the Japanese English language channel, France 24, which is a French language and English language channel out of Paris, and you've got something called RT, or Russia Today, which is an English language channel. So the Chinese have sought to join this kind of international English language broadcasting. And CCTV News is their English language channel. And this broadcast center in Washington is an important part of the English language channel of CCTV News. Now, there are other important parts as well. The headquarters, of course, are in Beijing. There's also a broadcast center, not as big as this, but a similar broadcast center in Nairobi, Kenya, because the Chinese believe that Africa is quite important to both China's foreign policy and to China's media policy, right? Now here in this center, the biggest thing that's going on right now is that we're preparing very diligently for election night coverage, American election night coverage. And here, we're going to begin by going on the air on election night, which is Tuesday, day after tomorrow. We're going to be on the air from 8 p.m. until, my guess is, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, because my guess is that is when we'll find out whether Mr. Obama or Mr. Romney has won this election. So we're going to be on there quite a long time. This is the first time that the Chinese have ever attempted to cover an American election in this way, with live, continuous TV coverage, right? So it's very new, very experimental. The staff has not done this before as a unified whole. So we're very different from ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, the traditional networks, all of whom have grand and great experience doing American elections. Now, the difference between our coverage of the elections and the American networks, and you know the American TV networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox, PBS, there are a few others, those are the main ones. They will be focused largely on the domestic political scene. They will look at, obviously, the presidential race, but they will also look at individual congressional races, senatorial races, the races for governor of some of the states. I don't remember now. I think there are at least 20 states where governors are being elected. Now, we will be less concerned with these more local issues and more concerned with the election as it impacts China and the rest of the world. So our main focus is, how does this election, how does whomever wins impact that decision, impact China and the rest of the world, right? So that's our main emphasis. So we're going to have 10 correspondents who will be contributing to our election night broadcast in 10 different cities. We will have live broadcasts from, obviously, Beijing, from Bangkok, Thailand, also from Mexico City, from Colombia, from Rio de Janeiro, from Havana, Cuba, from Cairo in Egypt, Tel Aviv in Israel, Nairobi in Kenya, and London, UK. So this gives our coverage that CCTV America is doing a big difference from what others are doing, who will not be paying very much attention to international opinion. They're much more concerned with the domestic American situation, the 50 states basically here. So that's what we're doing. It's a big effort. We've got 4 anchor people to be working. We have reporters here in the States, of course. We have a reporter in Boston covering Mr. Romney and the Romney campaign. We have a reporter in Chicago covering Mr. Obama's campaign, because he's from, as you know, Illinois, so that is where his campaign headquarters is. And obviously we have a reporter here, we have reporters here in Washington, of course, as well. We'll also be covering, to a certain extent, the Congress and Senate will send a reporter to Capitol Hill on the night to report on the big races, the most important races. And as you know, the real important thing from an international point of view is whether the Senate remains in the hands of the Democrats and whether the House stays pretty much the way it is in the hands of Republicans. The reason that makes a difference is because that determines what kind of legislation or how easy it will be for legislation to be passed, right? And then the other issue in the Senate, for example, if hypothetically, if the Senate changed hands, that would mean the chairs of all the important committees that deal with international relations, like the very powerful Senate Foreign Relations Committee, that would change from Democratic hands to Republican hands. So these are all issues that we'll be discussing as we do the first ever election night coverage. Now, if you're interested in Sunday morning's South China Morning Post, there is a big article on us and about this coverage. So
Oh, that's great. We'll
you
check
can
that.
check it out online, or when you get back to Hong Kong, see if your friends still have a copy of the
We have an online
SCMP.
subscription.
Good, but check out this morning's SCMP, this morning meaning Sunday,
Yeah.
Hong Kong time. A guy named Neil Fraser did an article